Greetings, it is I, ShepherdShang, and I have just beaten a game called Tales of Vesperia Definitive Edition on the PlayStation 4. So, short version. I liked it, but it's certainly got some problems. Okay, so, long version. That's full of spoilers, by the way, if you care for this game that's over 10 years old. Yeah, I never had this game originally. I never had an Xbox 360. Never had an Xbox either. Or the Xbox One. Or the One S. Not because of a lack of desire, but because of a lack of money. Anyway, point is, here in America, Tales of Vesperia came out on the Xbox 360, and it got a re-release on the PlayStation 4, which was an updated version, but that only got released in Japan, and I never played that. So yeah, this was my first experience with this. It's not the first Tales game I've ever played. It is the first Tales game I've ever beaten. I've played Tales of the Abyss on 3DS. I just got... God, Tales of the Abyss. It's the main character. The main character was the problem. I understand that character growth is a thing. I've read so much. I understand story structure very well. But God, that character is so fucking annoying. I know people like that in real life, and it just pisses me off so much. I just had to stop, and I never picked it back up. This game, though, I started playing it in November. And then I stopped playing it in November because it was dragging on. Yeah, that's a good way to describe this game. It really felt like I was just dragging along while playing this. I didn't play it all in December. I picked it up about halfway through January, and I've literally just finished watching the credits about 10 minutes ago. Again, I do like this game, but it really felt like it was dragging. It definitely feels like an older game. There was so much fucking grinding. Oh my god. I spent more than 20 hours grinding. And I'm really not sure just how much of it was actually necessary. Like, okay, let me say this. This game is full of side quests. Lots and lots of side quests. And in order to complete a bunch of those side quests, you need to grind like crap. And for that, one simple reason. Let me describe this for you. One of the side quests, you just have to flat out give a character 500,000 of your money. The typical battle at the end game gives you about 4,000 money. And there's more than one side quest that's like that. One of the side quests involves giving characters more than 900,000 money over the course of the game. Yeah, that by itself is just frustrating. I think part of what my frustration with all this is the side quests themselves. There are so many side quests, and they are so freaking complicated. So I basically knew nothing about how this game works, so I was looking at a guide on GameFAQs. Yes, I don't care that I call it GameFAQs. Go screw yourself. Go screw yourself. Go fuck yourself. I'm not being PG on this one. Yeah, that was Minecraft only, people. I cuss a lot in real life. Yeah, the side quests in this game are long and complicated. Apparently, like, one of this side quests, it's to get a weapon called the Brionac. It starts before you even know that the weapon exists. It starts hours before you even meet the character that can use it. It's literally that complex. And everything about it is missable. If you don't do stuff at specific times, you miss out on the side quest completely. And if you're not using a guide, I have no fucking idea how you're supposed to figure this stuff out. Some of this shit is so complicated. It's absurd. And apparently that Brionac thing I just mentioned, apparently that side quest is kind of glitchy or something. Because apparently, even if you do some of the stuff exactly, it still might not trigger. That's kind of frustrating. But yeah, the game grinding. Again, I don't know how much actual grinding was necessary. Like, after a certain point, the bosses were just kind of easy. This game has multiple difficulty settings, by the way. Um, I didn't use the easy setting. I used normal setting because it was my first time playing it. And part of the reason I sort of stopped playing because of how much time I had spent grinding, and it didn't really seem to be affecting things. Like, another part of grinding is that this game has a crafting system. It's not crazy, like, it's not Minecraft. No, just the monsters that you beat drop items which you can use to upgrade your weapons and stuff, which is cool, because, yeah, that's a better system. You use monster drops and some money to upgrade your weapons, so you don't have to constantly spend money on new weapons, because you don't always get good weapons from stuff. Except you do have to spend lots of money and time on this, because they are not guaranteed drops, and it does cost money to upgrade your weapons. And there are other aspects to it, like the fact that your weapons give you skills. Different weapons give you different skills, and by using your weapons, you get those skills permanently instead of them just being on the weapons. And I spent a good bit of time getting the skills because I thought, hey, I'm gonna need these. And as it turns out, no, I didn't really need them. You have a limited amount of what skills you can actually use, and a lot of them were kind of worthless and not well explained at all. Like, there were a couple of them towards the end of the game that said, hey, this powers up your attack magic, except you can't use any other kind of magic. Or maybe you can, because it does not explain what it actually does. It says you can't use anything but attack magic. You can't heal magic. Okay, does it actually affect that? I don't know, because it doesn't describe it. Like, one of the things you can get was it says, oh, but this skill uses up your TP, which is how you cast spells, to prevent your enemies from casting spells. Except it doesn't. The bosses, which are pretty much the only characters, I say. Some common enemies cast spells, but it's mostly bosses. Didn't actually affect bosses. It didn't give that caveat or anything in the description of what it does. And the descriptions are basically 2 sentences long. So yeah, that was frustrating. Yeah, part of the grinding is because I don't know how much is actually necessary, which I suppose you can argue that it's because that's the first time I'm playing through the game, and apparently one of the mechanics of this game is that it's meant to be played through multiple times. It's like, what the crap? If I was a kid playing through this multiple times to get the stuff, yeah, I can kind of see that. But the end time, when I did the final save after the end credits, was 126 hours. Yeah, even as an unemployed adult, I don't have the free time to play through this so many times. Apparently there are things you can do that will let you do the New Game Plus or whatever to make it easier and stuff, or harder if you like that. But I'm too frustrated with it at the moment. I haven't even gone into the story, and I said there would be spoilers. But again, I think one of the biggest problem I have with this game is side quests and silly stuff with the plot. Also the minigames. Oh yeah, the minigames. I hated the minigames. The minigames sucked, in my opinion. Like, most of them were okay, but a bunch of them were just sort of tedious, boring, and all of them had very poor controls. I really hated the snowboarding minigame. Oh my god, it controlled so poorly. Anyway, the story. The story is basically morality for babies. Yeah. And what I mean is, the whole premise of the various Tales games, that they take various concepts and put them in a world, and the story is based around these concepts. Like I mentioned, Tales of the Abyss. That whole thing's its story revolved around the concept of fate and destiny, and specifically predestination, and the fact that the predestination is bullshit, and you should not live your life that way. This game was basically based around morality, and how morality is morality. But it does it in a way that's kind of easy for children to understand, I guess. That's a very poor explanation, and honestly, I don't know if it's just the translations, but they made some very weird choices, I think. Like the fact that the main character considers himself a criminal, even though he also considers what he was doing the right thing. He thinks of himself as a criminal. Just stuff like that. The entire time I was playing this, all I was thinking was of these characters is their D&D alignments. The main character, whose name is Yuri, he's chaotic good. No question, he's chaotic good. One of the characters, named Flynn, he's lawful good. Another character, Estelle, she's neutral good. Oh, one of the bad guys, his name was Alexei, he's totally lawful evil. It's all just... Everything was just... I couldn't help but thinking that way, because it was just... Their characters were super simple, basically. They were all... And I've been playing a lot of D&D and related things lately, so I just couldn't help but think of it that way. Again, this is not a super complex game. This is not a game that was intended for a 30-year-old American man to play. Especially... this was, like, for 12-year-olds in Japan. It's not super complex, and it just... Again, lots of weird and questionable choices, like... One of the characters that was apparently added for the PlayStation 4 version back in the day, that wasn't there in the 360 version. Her name is Patty. So she's okay. I mean, at first things seem perfectly fine with her, and then the end of her story happens, and it makes absolutely no fucking sense. And it's just anime. It's anime nonsense, and it's just... I don't like anime nonsense, because it's bad anime nonsense. Her story is based around the fact that she has amnesia, and shit happened, and there's a massive fucking plot hole involving her age, which is never addressed. Maybe it was in the original Japanese version, but it wasn't in the English version, and that's just super frustrating, because literally just addressing her age would have solved the entire thing. Because the only way her story works is if she is the anime cliche of a character who is older than they look. Or something. It's dumb. And I don't like that. But again, a lot of my issues with this is basically that this was a game for young children. Well, not young children. Who am I kidding? This was not for 6-year-olds. This was a game for, like, someone who was 13 and frustrated with the world, basically. And, I kind of moved on from that in my life. I enjoyed it. But there were also... Most of my problems with it are just little things, like the fact that it's not the art direction. I guess it's, how would you describe this? Okay, let me try to describe it. You have cutscenes that they're sort of just like little CG scenes which you can skip through by pressing buttons enough. The characters are talking, they've got speech bubbles and stuff. And it will just sort of randomly switch to a shot of the background in which the characters aren't there, but they're still talking and doing things. Or a character will move off screen, continue to be talking, and do stuff. They're saying, "Oh, what are you doing?" and ouch, you hit me, and shit like that. And I don't know what to call that, honestly, and I just don't. So many questionable choices with it because it happened pretty much every single time there was a voice acted scene like that. It was just weird choices in what was the focus of the shot. Like focusing on characters that aren't actually talking, and their 3D models don't have facial expressions, basically. So you have no idea how they're reacting to what's saying, what other characters are saying and doing and stuff. Or just weird angles and stuff like that, and it's really off. It just really makes me wonder why. Like, was this one of those old school editing things where where American audiences, like, they would edit out scenes of violence to uh, in anime to shield children or whatever? Like, they don't show characters being punched, but you hear them being punched. Was it just crap like that, or I don't know? It just so much of this game just left me going, why did you do that? Your actions make no sense. I think that sums up my problem with the game. Again, I liked it. It was not bad, not at all. I would recommend this game. I just think it's not as good as it would have been 10 years ago, yeah. I think that does sort of. No, it does not. It's not as good as it would have been if I was 10 years younger. If I was 10 years younger, I would have liked this game a lot more than I do. Yeah, I think that describes it pretty well, honestly. Yeah, this is definitely a game that's intended for someone who's younger and somewhat less cynical than I am. Yeah. Tales of Vesperia. I liked it. But not as much as I would have if I was younger. Yeah. I think that's a good way to sum this up. So, again, if you've never played it, I'd say give it a shot. Yeah, go for it. Again, perfectly fine. I think I've dragged on long enough. I am ShepherdShang. Goodbye.